Hello, BookTube. We're going to go through one more shelf in this ongoing library tour. We are in a bookcase that I should warn you ahead of time is all canonical classics, almost entirely canonical classics. So if that sort of thing it doesn't interest you, if it bores you, then you should skip this video because that's all this is going to be. There's not going to be any of the variety that we've seen in the rest of the little book room. So we are on to the next shelf here. It's the last one. I'm going to be looking down because it's at hip level. It's the last one I'm going to be able to do without sitting on a chair or, God forbid, sitting on the floor. So we'll deal with the stuff on the lip of the shelf first, including two bookmarks sent to me by you. One involving dogs and one involving Superman. So pretty much got my number. And then a small stack of mass market books that I'm going to relocate them right now. I'm going to put them up on this top shelf with all the other mass markets. There's no reason for them to be here when there's plenty of room. We have an old paperback of the Dryden translation of the Aeneid that is quite the trip. It is quite a lot of fun to read. Let's do the famous opening line just to see. Arms and the man I sing, whom forced by fate and haughty Juno's unrelating hate, expelled and exiled, left the Trojan shore, long labors both by sea and land he bore. So if you can deal with rhyming couplets for a long time, for 300 pages, that's the Virgil for you. Then we have the Loeb Classical Library. This is a series put out by Harvard University Press that has the classics of the ancient world reprinted, really the best cleaned up original language text, Latin or Greek, is on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side is an English language translation. Sometimes, a lot of times in the earliest Loeb Classical Libraries, that English language translation was really a kind of a trot. It aspired to no literary value on its own. It was mainly meant to be almost word for word, as much as ever that could be done. Lately, or in the last 50 years, the Loeb Classical Library English versions have tried to be a little bit better, a little bit more conscious of why we would read these things. Still spotty, but the reason I like them is because they are by far the handiest way for me to read these things without any translator at all. And this is book 23 to 25 of Livy, which is my favorite part of the surviving parts of Livy. Here in, actually I should probably say, translation by J.C. Yardley. Then we have another Loeb Classical Library edition. This is Quintus of Smyrna, who was one of the many authors who did a kind of fan fiction of Homer's, the Homeric corpus. There were plenty of people who did this. His is the most famous, where they take the story of the Trojan War and elaborate on it, add things to it, draw from sometimes sources that we don't have anymore. This Loeb doesn't have a dust jacket. This is just The Fall of Troy by Arthur Way, whose translation of Quintus is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And then you see you got the Greek on one side and the English on the other. Then we have Tonio Kruger. This is Thomas Mann, Tonio Kruger and Other Stories, just a mass market collection of Mann short stories. Okay, well this next one is not canonical, although it should be. This is the collection of Robert E. Howard's Cull stories in this paperback that did for a lot of people what the Elsbreg de Camp and Lynn Carter paperbacks of Conan did, which was to introduce them to this character from Robert E. Howard. There's now a better volume of Cull, that big, what is it, Ballantine, that big trade paperback with illustrations. That is a better volume of the complete Cull stories than this. But when I saw this, I grabbed it because it has sentimental value for me. And the stories themselves don't change, obviously. It's just a question of editorial presentation, that sort of thing. Then we have a nice heavy paperback of Afternoon of an Author by F. Scott Fitzgerald, the only Fitzgerald that is on this bookcase. As far as I know, it's the only one that is. It collected nonfiction pieces. And what I believe will be the last of our Viking portable libraries. This is a Viking portable library of Henry James that has, what do we have here? 3 novellas, Turn of the Screw, Beast in the Jungle, and The Pupil. 3 short stories, The Whole of the Art of Fiction, travel sketches, autobiographical stuff. I wonder if do I remember correctly? Does the autobiographical stuff have his boyhood in Boston. Let's see. Let's see. Well, a journal in Boston and a memory of youth, but not otherwise, no. And tons of editorial stuff. So that's going to go up with the other Viking portable libraries. And that brings us to the shelf itself. So let's see what we have here. The first one is oversized. And tease it out here. This is Gilbert White, Natural History of Selborne. This is a big illustrated edition full of artwork. I'm sure would have delighted the author. This is a weird English classic. I love it. I love this edition. I've gone back to it a few times since I got it. But there is another edition out there that I want. I don't know if I want it instead of this one, but I want it in addition to this one. There's an older version out there it's 100 years old, and it has black and white photos of the kinds of animals that Selborne is talking about, the kind of plants and the actual locations and things like that. And I had it once upon a time. It was a successful version of Natural History of Selborne when it first came out. I got rid of it. I don't quite know why, but it's a volume that I want. I guess when it comes to these classics, I don't have an upper limit to how many different editions of them I will have in this room. Each good edition will bring something valuable on its own. Perfect case in point. Another edition of Moby Dick. This is from the University of California Press with illustrations by Barry Moser, who we've already seen illustrating Moby Dick for Barnes & Noble. But in this edition, this is oversized. And in this edition, he does tons of illustrations all throughout. Spot illustrations of the kinds of things that Melville is talking about. He will, let me get you an example. He will talk, there's a blowhole, just a picture of a blowhole, just so you know what it looks like. He also gives, okay, well, sometimes there are full page illustrations. There's a sperm whale looking particularly ominous. But you also get the stuff that Melville describes in his many expositional dumps here. You get the stuff that he describes as well, the parts and pieces that he describes. It ends up being an amazing edition. It's the only illustrated edition of Moby Dick that I know of that does visually what Melville does verbally, in terms of giving you everything that you need to know about the world he's talking about. Okay, then we have another of these Barnes & Noble leather-bound classics, and this is one of the best ones they ever did. This is the Bible, the King James Bible, in a gorgeous, big, heavy, gorgeous thing. It has the cloth bookmark, and also this has all of Gustave Doré's illustrations. Usually, let me show you an example. Usually, publishers would opt for only one illustration from Doré. Usually it would be just this, just God making the world. And this one has them all. The whole thing is full. There's Job, poor Job. This one has them all through. Just the kind of thing that I wasn't expecting it at all, and then Barnes & Noble did it, and I was just overjoyed. Oh wait, there are Transwise books here. Here, let's look at those. All right, here we have the Virgil, the Dryden Virgil again. This is in an old, what is this? Franklin Library. Which has some black and white illustrations. Really nice sewn binding. It's the same thing as the paperback that we saw in terms of the text. It's just a little bit more durable. Here, let's do the Sideways books first. Okay. Here's the Modern Library edition of Kim by Rudyard Kipling. Really like the dreamlike quality of that cover, so I kept it as opposed to any other. And then what is the other? Oh, okay. Oh, we've already seen this. Here's another copy of Everybody's Peeps with Ernest Shepard illustrations all throughout Pepys's diary. Oh, there we go. There's a ship and a crowd around it. I have a few editions of Pepys here in this room, and that's just one of them. So let's get those Transwise books out of the way here so that they're not interfering with us, and then we'll move on. We have I've mentioned before that I have lots of mass market paperbacks here, but that I'm okay with multiple editions of things. And one of the mass markets that I showed you was Innocents Abroad by Mark Twain, which is one of my favorite of his books. But there are lots and lots of other editions out there. There's plenty of Innocents Abroad in a travel collection of Mark Twain that I have right over my shoulder. But in terms of the book itself, Innocents Abroad and Roughing It are two great Mark Twain books. And Reader's Digest, once upon a time, did them both in great editions. These two. There's Roughing It, and there's Innocents Abroad. And these have illustrations and half-color offsets of the chapter headings. Just fantastic. And these old Reader's Digest hardcovers are fantastic. And some of you have probably seen a whole lot of them on Olive's channel, the Book Olive. She's a big fan of them too. They're staples at library sales and yard sales and whatnot, and they're worth getting. They're worth grabbing. They're unabridged. They're originally illustrated. They're really well made. Reader's Digest doesn't do them anymore, and these are my favorite editions of these two works. Just happened both of them to be done by Reader's Digest. Okay, then we have these Penguin Classic naked hardcovers that they did. I think they're still doing them. These Penguin Classic canonical things. This is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's just a naked hardcover. I was sent a lot of these by the publisher, and I really like them. They're really pretty. My only problem with them is that this artwork wears off. In other words, if I were to use this, if I were to say it's time for a reread of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I want it to be a nice and slow reread, so I'm going to take it with me everywhere, I'm going to put it in my bag, that sort of thing. If I were to do that, this would be completely bald. It would be stripped clear of any of this artwork in no time at all. That's my only complaint with these things. I have another one here. Oh yeah, this is Ovid. This is the Ovid's Metamorphoses. Who is the translator here? Dennis Rayburn. This is the Dennis Rayburn translation. Used to have a lot more of those things than I do. I got pretty much everything that Penguin was making. They sent them to me regularly. We saw a lot of them on this channel. And I didn't keep a lot of them. I kept 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I kept Ovid, but I didn't keep many of them, mainly because I knew they're pretty, but I'm never going to use them. Or unlikely that I'm ever going to use them, or not use them extensively. Standing here at this bookcase, as I often do, and reading just a bit or a piece, sure, I might pick up something like that. But, okay, then we have the standard, The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor, the standard hardcover with this, the peacock on it there. This is great stuff. We have another Barnes & Noble hardcover. This is Herodotus. They did a whole bunch of canonical classics like this, the little inset picture on the spine there, the deckled edges. This is, I got this wrong last time I talked about it. This is the G.C. Macaulay translation, and it is revised by Donald Leitner throughout, and he adds tons and tons of notes and prefatory material. Doesn't exist anywhere else. That actually makes this a really good volume of Herodotus to have. Then we have, then we have Stendhal. We've already seen Stendhal, the Red and the Black. We haven't seen it with a cover like this though. This is the Burton Raffle translation of the Red and the Black. I have no idea what explains this cover, and I don't care. The minute I saw it, I thought, no, I have to have that. That absolutely has to be in my collection. It's just a flagrantly nonsensical cover, but I love it. We have another Herodotus. Who did this? This is the Everyman's Library. This is the Rawlinson translation, full of notes and stuff, that I will transfer because I've recently just found the Rawlinson translation. Is it within reach? No. I've recently just found the Rawlinson translation in a bigger book. Those notes are actually spilling out of this because these who is this again? Everyman's Library is a little bit smaller than a normal sized hardcover. This one did well for Everyman's Library because it has artwork that is reminiscent of the movie of Corelli's Mandolin. With Ralph Fiennes was, I believe, the lead in that movie. That this was reissued at the time of that movie, at the time that movie was doing well. But the pieces here, all of these clippings, really should be in the bigger version. And maybe I don't need 2 copies of the same translation of Herodotus. I mean, I said, and I mean, that I can have many, many different editions of the same stuff, but the exact same thing, just in 2 different formats. Anyway, then we have this. This is a Stillinger version of the complete John Keats. This is in really, really ragged condition because I use it all the time. I go back to it all the time. This is the kind of thing you don't need to pick and annotate a specific scholarly edition of Keats. You can just read him on your own and enjoy him, enjoy the heck out of him. But if you're looking for a scholarly edition, this is the best one. And I've never seen another copy of this, so I just hold on to it all this time and go back to it when I want to do that. That or Helen Vendler's volume on Keats. I go back to those a lot. Okay, this is another Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition. One of you found this and sent it to me. This is their complete Shakespeare. They've done a few complete Shakespeares. This is the one that I wanted. I had this forever and ever, and then I got rid of it. And then I ham-handedly described it on a video, and one of you, from my description, found it online. There's this little island portrait of Shakespeare. It's sort of inset away from the rest of the cover. Really good, solid thing, although... I mean, it is a thing of beauty, but I keep going back to that running press Shakespeare. That is the Shakespeare that I use the most, even though I have lots of Shakespeare, lots of volumes in this room. Okay, then we have, who did this? This is another great reprint. This was done by Fall River, which I think was a reprint house. This is Dante. They put Inferno really big because they want you to know that you'll get the really good part. You'll get all the rest of it as well. That's what people think. People don't realize that Paradiso is the really good part because most people don't get that far in the Divine Comedy or in life. But this is the whole of the Divine Comedy, and it is the Henry Wadsworth Longfellow translation, which I love, and it has all of the Gustave Doré illustrations, not just a few, but all of them, in a very good resolution. That is fantastic. He's one of my favorite illustrators, so that was a no-brainer as far as a Dante volume goes. Then we have the New Testament. This is David Bentley Hart. I mentioned this on this channel just the other day because this has a new edition coming out, and I have no idea what will be in the new edition. I haven't got it yet. This is his translation with a copious commentary on the New Testament. Really, really Steve's cup of tea. All right. Well, this next one continues a trend. This continues apparently a tradition here on this bookcase, which is that every shelf has its own Beowulf. This is by Craig Williamson. This is translated by Craig Williamson. This is the complete Old English poems. A gorgeous, big volume. The bookmark and all. I was so happy when I got this from the University of Pennsylvania Press. Just a big, lovely thing. It has everything that we have. Has everything that we have in Old English, including all of Beowulf. So we have yet another complete Beowulf in this room, one per shelf. And then finally, we'll finish up with another translation. This is the L.R. Lind translation of the Tristia of Ovid, in an oddly shaped book that has all the poems like that. Just a lovely little thing here that captures all of some of Ovid's writings from exile, the other end of the world, from his comfortable villa, from his family, from his friends, from the nightlife and the readings and the banquets and whatnot that he knew and loved so well. All the way on the other side of the world, exiled, pleading to come back home, and writing brilliant poetry. All for nothing, because he was not allowed to come back home. He died in exile. But that is it. That is this shelf. Crosswise books that aren't there anymore now, and those books themselves. So we now have 2 more shelves to go on this bookcase, and they are too far down. I would be bending out of camera range to get to the next one. So I'm going to have to figure something else out. I'll have to sit or on a chair on the floor. And it's going to be all the more difficult to navigate because I don't have a tripod anymore. I have a duopod. One of the legs of my tripod broke off, even though it's metal. So I haven't got a new one yet. So my tripod just has 2 legs. So I've got to figure out some way to set it up. I'll find a way. So we'll reconvene and do that next time. I wonder who the Beowulf version will be on the next shelf. So anyway, I'll wrap this up, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.